Hey, good morning,
Good afternoon.
good evening,
And good night.
This is John.
This is Arvin
Welcome to Behind the Scenes
of our best days.
ever.
Yeah, a best day ever.
Ever.
Season 3.
And why is it our best day ever?
Because God is good.
Yeah, honestly, even when we are not.
Yeah, even then, especially
Yo,
then.
preach that. How many of you guys are grateful that even if you're listening and you're like, I actually don't believe in God?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? He's still good.
He believes in you.
Yeah. Yeah. You, however you feel about God doesn't change him, but it does change you.
That's right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
very true.
Like
Yeah.
whenever people are like, well, I don't know what I think about God. And I'm
Sure.
like, okay, well, that doesn't change him, but I'm sure that
Right.
changes you whenever you're in your lowest of lows
Big time.
or in your highest of highs or you
Yeah.
have questions in life. I'm like,
Yeah.
how unfortunate.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
truly,
saying?
truly, yeah.
So anyways, well, hey, we're really excited because we were kind of talking through some things that we were just kind of going through. And one thing that we have realized is whether you're in a ministry or you're in any organization,
A
or you're
professional of any kind.
professional of any kind,
Yeah.
you have winning seasons or you have battles that you have fought or any
Sure.
of those things.
Sure.
And today we're talking about healing from the win.
Amazing.
Or healing after the win.
Yeah.
After the win.
Yeah.
Not wind, W-I-D, not like
Yeah.
breaking wind.
No.
But
Like
but we're
win.
breaking it down.
That's right. We're breaking down wins.
Okay. So anyways, well, and those of you guys, if this is your first time to ever hear it, we actually, we have the opportunity to serve here at Victory Church here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We absolutely we love it.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of,
It's a dream.
working and serving with our Easter production. So
Yeah.
we're in filming and
Oh boy. Yeah.
rehearsals, and it's fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But this podcast, the whole goal of this is to talk about behind the scenes
Yeah.
of what people see the end results,
Sure.
or they see the win
Right.
results.
Yeah. That's good.
And it's like, what's behind the win?
yeah.
What's behind the winning? What's behind this end result? And that's what this podcast is about.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyways, if that interests you, great. If that doesn't, you may want to turn it off.
Yeah.
And we are your friends.
Yeah.
Anyways, so one thing, so in the Bible, there's
Yeah.
this story about David. And David and his mighty men, they win this really epic battle.
Right.
And it's actually, there's this, the reading of it is called the Battle at Ziklag. Anyways, but I'm just going to give you the Bible story version.
Yeah.
They have this really epic battle that was really hard, that was really tough, and, they won.
Yeah.
But they were bruised and battered, but
Yeah.
they won.
Yeah.
And it was, and after you win something, if any of you played high school sports, or if you currently are playing sports or any competition where you win, you are riding off of
Just the adrenaline. All of that.
the high of winning.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But people don't realize that winning takes a toll.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I should say, winning doesn't negate the toll that the game took. Like,
Right.
the battle still hurts regardless.
Yes.
Yeah.
and so anyways,
Yeah.
they just get done with this big W, and they go back to their camp, and their children are missing, their wives are missing.
Right.
Their whole camp has been ransacked by an army that's really like is not even on the same level of the army they just built.
Yeah.
Of the army they just beat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it would be basically like
Yeah.
if who won the national championship in football this year? Okay, Georgia.
Georgia,
So it would be like Georgia wins the national championship.
Sure.
And then the next week they get embarrassed by McNeese State.
Yeah. They
and
lose
they
a
lose.
scrimmage there.
They
Yeah.
lose a scrimmage.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like, well, why is that? Does that mean that McNeese is better? Like, I mean, probably you got the worst version of Georgia. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so after this
Yeah.
this Bible story, so they go back, and all of a sudden they start crying. It talks about in the Bible, these grown men, they start crying and they're weeping.
Yeah.
And I think that it is a mixture of what they just went through, like they're tired emotionally, and they
Right.
came back after a win,
Yeah.
and they're like, they probably just want to chill,
Right.
let their hair down,
Yeah.
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
See their wives and kids.
See their wives and kids,
Yeah.
enjoy the material things that they have.
Sure.
but they come back and it's all missing.
Yeah.
And they go from crying to getting angry
Right.
to blaming
King David.
They blame. And here's the thing: King David didn't take their kids.
Yeah, he was at the battle. He was fighting
he
with
was
them.
there at
Right.
the battle. He fought with them. He
Yeah.
didn't take their kids. He didn't take their wives.
Yeah.
He didn't like ransack the village.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell the other, hey, like it would be like if Georgia lost to McNeese State and then everyone is infuriated at the coach,
Right.
which actually happens,
I'm sure. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you know, and David really gets down on this.
Yeah.
And many times in life, we experience wins or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then we actually don't heal after a win,
Wow.
right? Because the toll that it takes on us after a win, and it could be maybe a hustle season for you in your church,
Sure.
or hustle season for you and your spouse or your business,
Right.
or whatever that you're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't take time to actually process and praise.
Sure.
I like the 2 P's. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? About like, hey, let's process like,
Yeah.
man, God did
Yeah.
some good things.
Sure.
And this is where he showed up.
Yeah.
And a time to chill
Right.
and like literally be a professional at doing nothing,
Right. Exactly.
to where
Yeah.
you're not feeling this hamster wheel of being like, okay, you know,
Just keep going and going.
go. Heal from the bruises. And sometimes whenever you're winning, you can like snap at certain people. Maybe if you're in, for instance, we're going to talk from the allegory of a church.
Sure.
So for us, we do a conference or we're doing Easter.
Yes.
Okay. So right now we're going to take this example to Easter. Right now we're doing this Easter production.
Yeah.
We just filmed for several days, and
Right.
now we're filming like we're getting ready to film over spring break. We're doing some
Yeah.
teaser and trailer filming, and we're also start rehearsals, and there's
Yeah.
music due. All of these things are due. We're kind of behind, which
Sure.
we are every year, and God it initially shows up,
Yeah.
and it would be me snapping at Arvin.
Okay.
Snapping at Ryan
Sure.
Stafford for directing something, or us not
Yeah.
seeing eye to eye. Jill Stafford with choreography.
Sure.
Larice Wynn with wardrobe.
Sure.
Dom with music,
Sure.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I start snapping at them, and we're really stressed, and behind the scenes we're rah, 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 because
Yeah.
we want it to be great.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Easter weekend happens.
Huh. Yeah.
And God does amazing things,
Every
which He's
time.
going to.
Right.
And then Monday morning after the Easter weekend,
Yeah.
what's the dynamic there?
It's pure exhaustion.
It's exhaustion. It's
fatigue.
also fatigue, but it's also like, wow, God did something great, and we
Yeah.
did something great.
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
there's that,
Sure.
but then there's also like there's withdrawals because your identity was wrapped up in late nights, editing,
Sure.
doing all of these things.
Yeah.
And so for like a few days, you're like, you kind of are like, wait, who am I? Because I became so invested in this thing,
Yeah.
and now like I gave birth to it. Okay, so but that's now over.
Right.
And so do I just continue to post Throwback Thursdays on my Instagram?
Yikes.
Which
Wow.
which is okay
Sure,
to celebrate it.
Sure.
to
But
be
it
like-
leaves you vulnerable.
But it leaves you vulnerable, and you actually have to heal
Yeah.
after a win.
Yeah.
So in the Bible story,
Yeah.
they come back and and most of the time when people are tired after they've given their everything,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they come back and things are not what they expected, they need someone to blame.
Sure.
And so if they can't blame God, they're going to blame a leader.
That's right.
And if you're a leader listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
you've maybe been in this weird emotional,
Yeah.
what would you call this?
Oh gosh, it's a
quandary?
a cluster. Yeah. yeah. Traffic jam emotionally. It speaks to a misunderstanding I've had, at least. Perhaps others have as well.
Yeah.
I would assume most people have, in that all the conversation about preparation for the battle, the win, whatever. Up until today, honestly, until you shared this with me this morning, I always thought God prepares you so that you can win. And now I'm realizing a lot of the stuff God does is so that after you win, you don't lose.
Ooh.
So like,
Hold on.
Yeah.
Say that again.
because God's preparation process for the win in your life, it doesn't negate or neglect the season after the win. So like, after a production, we've created this. You've created this standard of leave town after a show,
Oh yeah,
And,
Monday. So
yeah,
like if our last
just
show's on Sunday,
get out of town. The
leave.
one time I didn't do that, I regretted it so much by that Thursday. I was like, I can't believe I should have done that because of the mental fatigue. But the point I'm going to get to quickly is that God's prep process gets you not only to win, not only does the great event happen, whether it's at work or in family or whatever,
Yeah.
but then thereafter, you don't make compromising decisions. So in that story, David,
Ooh.
when everyone's blaming him, he's in a position where he can run away or he can do the right thing. And what he does is he wins. The bigger win for David there is that he privately gets alone with God.
So he gets away from everyone blaming and pointing
Right,
fingers.
yeah.
And even, here's the thing, David also lost after he won.
Big time. Yeah.
David came back to the camp and he
Yeah.
goes, wait,
Yeah.
you guys understand that I also fought with you, but I'm also
Yeah.
lost
They took
with
my
you.
stuff too. Yeah.
So now a bigger capacity of emotion,
Yeah.
of emotional maturity is
Totally.
being demanded
Totally.
from the king.
Totally. Most people would quit in that
Quit
situation.
or snap back.
Or
and be like,
justify
you know what?
sin.
Or
Absolutely.
justify sin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Break that down.
A lot
Break
of,
that down.
I mean, we wouldn't know about, and I'm sensitive to this. I'm not mocking anybody.
Right.
But we've seen so many leaders fall, and we wouldn't know about their fall unless they were winning in the first place. So they're consistently winning at services. They're consistently winning, whether it's in the business world or in the church world. It gets a lot more attention in the church world, honestly, and for good reason. But they're winning in an area we want to win at, and then they're not necessarily, I'm not saying this is everybody, but not necessarily prepared for the aftermath of the win. And so instead of doing what David does, which is get alone with God and go, okay, now this, another thing, he probably wants to quit, but he goes to God and God gives him instruction on how to get everything back and, he heal his community.
He actually asks God, can I go get everything from these people that took everything?
Yeah, yeah.
So he asks. He doesn't just do it.
Right.
Even-
No, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Right.
It also says that David encouraged himself in the Lord, which means no one texted
There was
him.
no one there to encourage
His
him.
wife didn't encourage him.
Yeah.
Which means at the end of the day,
Yeah.
some of your best encouragement you will ever get will be
Right.
from the person that you're looking at in the mirror.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Like if your fuel is determined upon people encouraging you, I think that is so great. Exterior encouragement is great, but at the end of the day, you have to encourage yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't know how to do that.
That's
so
right.
like, how would you do that?
Man, I think the simplest things I can do is I go for a drive, I get a coffee, something super basic, but it's a task to do. And I remember in particular, I'll give you a perfect, dissect a perfect example. I remember I went to, several years ago, I went to preach with my dad in Denmark. I spoke 9 times in 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
And I was exhausted, spiritually, mentally,
Wait,
emotionally.
hold on. You spoke 9 times in
5 days. So it was like
God.
morning and evening sessions in this one conference for young adults. So after that, I remember I was on the flight back with my dad and I was like, what do you do now? And he's got 40 years of experience. So he was like, you need to commit to a very simple routine for like 10 days at least, which is don't necessarily sleep in all day, but go to bed early and then wake up and take a shower as fast as you can. Make your bed, drink water, go to the gym. Even if you're not doing an intense workout, walk on the treadmill at like 1 mile an hour. Do it for an hour and just
Good.
listen to a sermon or a podcast and then journal. And then, take that time. If you do not do that, you will misinterpret why you won and what that win means.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So after a big win, a temptation could be,
Yeah.
or a pit we could fall in.
Sure.
Would be to misinterpret why we won or
Or what that win will mean for you.
what that win will
Right.
mean for you.
Because the why we won was, the reality was God's grace moved and you were able to fulfill his plan during that time. But it's a very, very tricky slippery slope that could say, well, I'm pretty awesome now.
I'm pretty awesome now. Or like, I know for me, and Arvin hears me talk about this, like I just the other day I spoke in our Victory Christian School
Yeah.
chapel. We
Yeah.
have a Victory Christian School, K through 12th grade. Very grateful for it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
These students though, they have chapel at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. And if they're there, which means they not only have a youth group on Wednesday night, they have church that their parents make them go to on a Sunday.
Sure.
And then they have chapel. They're hearing 3 sermons a week.
At least.
And the sermons that they're hearing are not bad.
Right.
So they're actually used to hearing
Good
good sermons.
stuff, yeah.
So my thing is, what do I have? I'm 37 years old, and I actually get intimidated by a 16-year-old. So I go into the chapel, and I'm like, and then I speak. I feel like, okay, this is what God put on my heart. I share it, and then afterwards, I'm like, okay, I wonder what they thought about it. I wonder if it was good. I wonder, just because.
Right.
Teenagers, I've said this to Arvin. Sometimes when you speak to teenagers, specifically in that type of environment, you're like, it's a softball pitch to a brick wall. They give you nothing.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're looking at you. Or
Yeah.
if any of you are aware of a Christian school or a Christian college, those chapels are the most difficult to speak at.
Super hard. Yeah.
You know, it's easier to speak to an audience that's hungry.
That's right.
You know, but if an audience is
Or who chose to be there,
or
honestly.
who chose to be there.
Yeah.
An audience that chose to show up. But
Sure.
any audience that is like, hey, this is part of your routine.
Part of class, yeah.
It's like, you just have to understand the shoes that they're in.
Yeah.
And then put yourself in those shoes and be like, you know what? I get it. Why I probably would not be like whistling, standing up on chairs and getting out my praise hanky.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So anyways, so like afterwards you can be like, after a big W, you can be like, how awesome am I?
Sure.
Or you can start thinking about
Yeah.
all of the things that you could have, should have, would have said.
Yeah.
And then you begin
Sure.
doubting.
Oh boy. Yeah.
and
They're
then
both
you're
the
like,
same thing.
They're the same.
Yeah, it's me centric.
It's me centric.
I did great or I did terrible. And either way, your conclusion thereafter is going to be incorrect. If I go, I'm awesome, I just preached so much, it was so great, then it's like, well, you're probably going to justify falling in some area now. That happens all the time.
It does.
Is people
True
do
that,
some
true
big.
that.
I mean, I grew up going on mission trips constantly, and there was always this thing about when you get back, don't justify sin just because you feel like you did. It sounds pathetic, and it is,
No.
but
like,
it's so real.
Oh my gosh, I ran 2 miles this morning. Tonight I'm
I
having a
deserve
triple
this.
dip chocolate fudge sundae. Okay,
Exactly.
I'm guilty of that.
I am
I literally
very
do
guilty
that.
of
Like
that.
I'm
Yeah.
about to hit up any of you guys who are not aware of Brahms in Tulsa,
the
America.
best. It's the best.
It's the best place
Yeah.
ever. Really great ice cream for cheap. That's a plug.
Yeah.
Brahms is now sponsoring us. That's a faith statement. Anyways, cappuccino chunky chocolate.
Yes.
With hot fudge.
Oh,
Like
gosh.
hook me up.
100%.
And in my mind, I'm like, my boy deserves this because I ran 2 miles or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's the same thing after
Sure.
a W, after wherever you're at, whatever
Yeah.
win you experience,
Sure.
you seal the deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have friends that are don't work here and they go, hey, we just struck the deal. Let's go out for drinks. And some of them drink appropriately and some of them get sloshed and hammered and they go, it's a Tuesday.
Yikes.
And you have to be at work tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Right.
So either way,
Yeah. And even if you don't justify sin, maybe you don't. I've fallen into this before. Maybe you justify behaving differently, which is the second part, is how you
Behaving.
misinterpret the win or why you even won. Meaning, well, now I've spoken at this conference in Europe. Do I start putting international speaker in my Instagram bio? Or
wait, people
can I
do that?
still go serve? Can I still go?
Wait a second. So
See-
you're saying like, wait a second. If I got a group of people together and we did a really awesome worship night and the Spirit moved and I actually had a fire word,
Sure.
am I now that I am a greeter at a front door at
Right.
a young adult service on a Sunday night at 6
Yeah,
p.m.,
right.
that's actually not as important as what I just did the other
Right.
night.
Exactly. Can you, like, anyone can take off in a plane. Do you have landing gear?
Ooh.
I've heard a pilot say this. A pilot said, taking off in a plane is pretty straightforward. Like, I could give you instructions behind your back. I can stand there and tell you, push this button, move this up here, do that, and you could probably take off in a plane. But landing is a learned skill. that is so difficult. So a lot of people take off in ministry,
Landing
in
is
life.
a learned skill.
It's a very learned skill. So maybe you go, because I come back from that conference. I'm a speaker now, whatever.
How old were you?
I was 25, 26. So
big ballin',
I
bruh.
come back, and then I come on staff at Victory, and I'm not a speaker at Victory.
You're doing sermon slides.
I'm doing sermon slides. And the attitude with which those slides happen, is it, well, this is a matter of time until you're not going to land well. You know what I mean? I've seen lately there's been a lot of high winds in Europe. And so there's these video streams of planes that are coming down, and the wind is so quickly coming at them that they can't land. Because if they try to land the plane and stop, it's literally going to push the back of the plane above the front of it, and it's going to flip over. So I've seen these abandoned landings where they come into land, and then they whoosh, and
they
you
have to
see
go
this,
back up.
They just go right back up, circle around until the wind dies down, or go land somewhere else. The point I'm making with all that is a lot of people take off, and they're doing that, and they don't feel like they can land ever until there's a crash, until there's an affair,
until they run out of gas.
Exactly. Wow. We stumbled upon this, but this is so very true. Yeah. No, and it's like I'm not able to land. I'm not able to go back and rest, and because the right interpretation of that 10-day period, whatever it is, for us we go away for 4 or 5 days. The right interpretation is, God, anything that went well there was because of you, and anything that went poorly was because of me, and I'm asking you to reveal that to me so I can repent of it or go about it differently. I do know a lot of the things that we've done in productions over the last 3 years, the breakdown that's then happened afterward has made each show better. Because we've reevaluated things, and we go, okay, how about this? How about that? Let's do that differently. Someone from our camera crew told me yesterday, we just shot in Arkansas we shot it for a total of 8 days.
Yeah.
It's a pretty grueling schedule for the camera crew. And someone on that crew said to me, this was by far the smoothest shoot we've ever had. And that's a huge deal coming from this person, because it's like, if anyone understands how grueling it is, it's this guy. And for him to say that means, okay, that we interpreted former wins, we interpreted former wins correctly. So that period thereafter, I think it's all coming to me today now, that is why God does so much work on your character and integrity, not so that you can win, but so that after you win, you don't lose.
And so that after you take off, you have learned the skill of landing.
Absolutely.
So as we come kind of to a close today, it's such a great story. If you read the Battle of Ziklag, it's the story in the Bible with David. And basically he had to encourage himself in the Lord. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that he needed to do, which is what I'm telling anyone who's listening to this, is that he had to encourage himself, and he actually got away. He got away from the people who were blaming him.
Right.
He didn't put his phone face down and then pray to God and then look back up and see if there was any notifications of people bashing on him in the comments.
Yeah.
He actually, he didn't have a phone. This is
no,
all
we
dumb.
know that, right?
We know that, right? David didn't have an iPhone, but basically David was like, I'm not checking my emails. I'm not looking at any of that stuff. I have to get alone, because all great things in you are built when you're alone.
Yeah.
All great things.
Yeah.
We learned from our master Jesus. He often withdrew to the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anyways, I think that the whole lesson that can be learned is that healing after you win. Mm-hmm. That way we don't misinterpret how we won
and why.
And why we won.
Yeah.
That we consistently go back to, okay, God, anything great that happened, it was because of your grace.
Right.
And anything that was kind of screwy, it was probably because of me. So help me have wins and work-ons.
Yeah.
What can I do so next time?
Sure.
And also removing yourself, that you are more than your output.
That's right.
So anything that you've ever created, guess what? That's not your identity.
Right.
So that's where we have these one-hit wonders. So in the late 80s and early 90s, there was these bands that would come out with these banger songs.
Sure.
And then I'm sure it was the pressure got to them.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we don't know if we can make another.
Top that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever, you see some of these artists that have been around a long time, and they're like, oh my goodness, they have 11 albums. And it's like, because they're like, well, I'm an artist, so I'm just going to continue to create.
Yeah.
Even if they're not all wins, I'm doing like, I just have to continue.
Right.
Continue to show up and show. There's a rhythm of rest. There's a rhythm of learning how to land and all of those things. So that's what we leave you with today.
Yeah.
Is whether you are in the middle of a win, you're coming out of one, or you're getting ready to have one.
Sure.
It is that what happens after the win is just as important. And what God is preparing you for is not just the win, but
the time after.
The time
so you
after.
don't lose after you win.
So you don't lose after you win.
Because Scripture says we go from glory to glory, from faith to faith. It's not a one-hit wonder with God, which is awesome.
Man, thank God. Thank you guys so much for listening this week to Behind the Scenes.
Of our best days. This is our season finale.
Season 3 this is our last one.
We'll see you in season 4.
Yeah, and so actually, after this finale, we're not going to record because we are learning how to land.
That's right. We're landing the plane today.
We
landed quite well today, I think.
We did, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is actually, that was a God thing. And so we'll be releasing our season 4 probably right before Victory Conference 2022. So stay tuned. It may be right before that or right after that.
Sure.
Anyways, we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.
See you later.